Hello, everybody. Tobacco, Crepe, Aerosmith featuring back here on KRFF 95.9 LPFM. Moorhead, Fargo, RadioFreeFargo.org, streaming everywhere on this blue and green marble. We can get into your ear hole. And I'd love to get into your ear hole, especially right now. It's 4 o'clock. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. That's me. I wasn't here last Thursday, so I got to be extra rich today, like a fudge brownie with nuts on it. In it, all around it. That's kind of a nice day here, 70 degrees. So thank you for joining me. This morning is Country with Trav. 10, I believe, in the morning. You'll have to look it up yourself. Right after me, Stinky Arts Music Mart, then a mixtape, then another show, then, in the nighttime, Artemis Shrine. Yeah, Artemis Shrine. Thursdays. Now, there's other stuff going on other days of the week. So make sure you check in, tap in to RadioFreeFargo.org. RadioFreeFargo.org. That's right, I said it. We're streaming everywhere. KRFF 95.9, the best independent radio station in the world as far as I'm concerned. Now, like I said, you're listening to Radio Free Fargo 95.9 KRFF. It's a community radio station. Business owners, managers, and nonprofit organizations considering advertising? Why not learn what underwriting is on a nonprofit community radio station like Radio Free Fargo? To learn more about what underwriting is, please contact us at our website, www.radiofreefargo.org, or at our profile on Facebook. Why not let listeners know that you support the community by supporting a community radio station like 95.9 FM? We talk about cannabis this hour, cannabis legalization, medical benefits of cannabis, and just general drug stories. Is kind of... If there's a crazy drug story, I'm going to talk about it. If there's cocaine-shaped surfboard news stories, I'm your guy. So I'm out there looking through, flipping through, reading stuff to bring you the best hour. Again, regarding cannabis legalization, the benefits of cannabis, medical cannabis info, and just general stories about the other stuff, which I certainly don't promote. And as a Pentecostal, I can't. Cannabis, I believe, though, was made by God for us to use as we see fit. And I show him props every Sunday and Wednesday. But Sunday, 10 a.m., we do a recovery class. So if you got a monkey on your back you need shook off, we can help you. If you got it off your back, but you can still kind of feel him pulling at your pant leg, and he's ugly too, let us know. 11 a.m., we worship. Stick duty for me. Come on through. This show is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy. Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook. 1,600 mgs of CBD, locally grown hemp. And hemp, we're going to talk about that. I was in Tennessee last week. Actually, this time last week, I was in the Blue Ridge Mountains. The Smoky Mountains on the East Coast, as a matter of fact. So we'll talk about that next segment because it's kind of interesting. They don't have medical or rec. But boy, are they creative over there in Tennessee. And so we'll talk about that, and we'll open a big fat bag of cannabis news at 4:20. Stick around for that, my friends. It's a decent day, like I said. I hope everything's going all right in your neck of the woods. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, so that's going to be fun. Again, on the other side of this break, we're going to talk about Tennessee and their hemp bill. See, now that farm hemp bill, that's crazy. And we got several stories in here. And it's just crazy how, I don't know, it just seems like drugs, drug runners, drug kingpins, people are just putting their heads together to try to figure out how to get something that's not supposed to happen. They always just seem to be one step ahead of all the bad, all the other guys trying to stop them. They always seem to be smarter than the government's law, I feel. And so this farm bill is a perfect example of that. I mean, we got so many crazy synthetic cannabinoids or esters. What's an ester? But apparently you can get an ester out of a THC, and it's a completely different thing. Then we're talking like HHC, HHO, crazy stuff. All right. But at 4:20, we'll open a big fat bag of cannabis news. I'll talk about cannabis most this hour, unless I'm playing music, which I'm going to do right now because it is the time to do it. It's Bark of a Tree, ALO 95.9. wrapped around him like a bark of a tree. ALO. Here on KRFF 95.9 LPFM, RadioFreeFargo.org, streaming everywhere on the blue and green marble. We can get to you. We're streaming everywhere, and by everywhere, I mean everywhere. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. That's me. 420, we open a big fat bag of cannabis news, and this Thursday is no different. Last Thursday was different. I know here. And I realized I didn't tell anybody. I should have. I should have told the radio station. Normally I do. Sorry, radio station. I should have told my producer who pumps this out on YouTube, minus the music. Didn't tell Pilco either. But I am back. Some people may have just thought I just ignored it. But au contraire. And I had mentioned it, on the radio. So if you're not listening to me, then you don't know nothing. Okay. Let me read this. Programming on 95.9 Radio Free Fargo. KRFF is being underwritten by Drummer's Journey. Drummer's Journey offers percussion instruments, hardware, electronics, accessories, and more. They have full service for drummers, including repair, custom building, and lessons. Drummer's Journey is located at Highway 10 East Mall in Moorhead, Minnesota. Their hours are Monday through Thursday, 11 to 7. Fridays and Saturdays, 11 to 5. And Sundays, noon to 5. For more info, check drummersjourney.com. They have a profile on Facebook. Okay, so Tennessee, crazy place, because they have essentially rewrote the rules on this farming bill, So hemp was legal. And I guess the people that said it's illegal never thought that they could, isolate certain things, get THC out of it, because hemp can have THC. It all becomes convoluted. It just all becomes abstraction. Right? So Delta 8, Delta 9. All right? And CBD. But you can grab things out of CBD. I didn't know that. CBD is where the HHO and the HHC comes from. It's an ester of whatever. All right? Well, Tennessee, they do have Delta 8, but they have got... So I grabbed a gummy. It had... like 9 cannabinoids I never heard of. It didn't have 9 except for, the old 0.3. It had Delta 8, but not much. But they had THCP, THCJD. It's like, what are these? I didn't even, to me, cannabis is cannabis, and there is an effect you expect. And I'm a rhymer, 2-timer. But anyhow, yeah, there was so many THCP, like I said, THCA, and I don't know. And so you look at the disposables, and as a result, you're not limited to like a gram, and like in Illinois when I was there, you could get like a 0.75er. And now I learned in Missouri, you can get like 0.34 in a disposable. So that's kind of just what I was expecting, right? And I'm like, well, do you have disposables? I go, yeah. How much you got in there? 3.5 grams. What? I didn't even know that a battery could last that long. You're listening to Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I'm Wilson. We talk about cannabis, benefits of cannabis, general cannabis stories, and if there's a crazy drug story, I'll probably cover it because, crack is whack, and so there's crazy stories that comes with it. Fentanyl's the same thing. However, I did find so I was right along the Pigeon Forge River. It's a gorgeous river right along a convention center in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And those long-necked, funny-legged cranes look like they're on fentanyl. If you put a long-necked crane in the water next to one of those fentanyl addicts in Kensington Avenue in Pennsylvania, they'd be the same thing. And I was so enamored with those stinking cranes because they move like this. It's wild, I imagine it's what I would do if I was on fentanyl. I'd be in the water, no pants on, with one leg up, just slowly looking at stuff. But anyway, that's just a side story. And but again, there are crazy. There is a lot of stuff going on in states because, again, there's no medical and there's no recreational. Delta 9 certainly isn't allowed. So you've got this ingenuity stuff that's happening under the protection. And we'll talk about Arkansas. That judge, he's like, nah, we're going to let it all ride. Now, North Dakota, as far as I know, August 1st, seen a lot of those hemp derivative psychoactives pulled off. You can't have them. Can't do it. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, you're listening again to me, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I am going to play some songs, and I'm glad to be back. So we'll get into it at 4:20. This is a brand new tune from Slow Dive called The Slab. And again, you're listening to 95.9. Okay, that was The Slab by Slow Dive. Brand new. KRFF 95.9. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. We talk about cannabis, general cannabis stuff, the benefits medically from cannabis, the progress made, and just general stories. If I read something crazy somebody did on crack, or stuck crack somewhere whack, I'm going to probably talk about it. But right now, it's 4:20. So it's time to open a big fat bag of cannabis news, because that's what I do, y'all. See, I say y'all now. But basically, Pigeon Forge is like a hillbilly Vegas. The more you know. And kapow. Hello, everybody. How you doing? It is time for the part of the hour where I talk about cannabis legalization, the benefits of cannabis, and just cannabis stuff in general. I took a week off, so I'm feeling particularly spry and fresh. And so, yo. All right? Yo, yo, yo. Cannabis moment. Nebraska. I almost said Nebraska. The Bratska. Dude, activists. Kickoff 2024 medical cannabis ballot campaign as governor raises concerns about children. So, it's, you're in the backwoods, and I don't know. See, I used to be busting Prickett's balls because I thought he was the governor, and I don't know that he is anymore. I'm trying to find it here. I don't know where. So we're going to assume that maybe Governor Prickett's is no longer the governor. Okay. But Nebraska's back at it. And my secret hero is Senator Anna Wishart. Doesn't matter. But she's been grinding this thing for so many times. So there was never a question that we would come back for a third time, said Krista Eggers, campaigns manager. The issue is not one we could give up on. It's people's lives we are fighting for. We started collecting earlier than we have ever have, ensuring we have time on our side. We know that Nebraskans want to see this on the ballot. And so Moorfield, who I don't know who that is, former Senator Adam Moorfield. There are people that have loved ones that are still here and suffering today, and that's why we get up and do this every single day. So good. Now, let's find these... where these naysayers are in this article. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Governor Jim. He voiced opposition to cannabis reform in a new statement that says access to medical cannabis should only happen if it has undergone the FDA-approved process. And now we're going to talk about that because, scheduling is hot right now. And HHS is the Human Health Services, I think. But it is the buck stops with them when they say where it should be scheduled. All right, so they did all the information is in now, and they recommend Schedule 3. Now it goes to the DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency, our worst enemy. We don't like it at DEA. And if you're, what do they call it, the First Amendment guy or the right to bear arm guy, you don't like the ATF. And I'm with you with it, I guess. I don't know. Guns are scary to me, but I have ADD and I can barely keep the car in between that yellow and the white line. I've had a gun in my hand and it just felt scary. It felt like there was a trip coming on, like I was going to trip with that pistol. It's like I'm sure a door is going to come out of nowhere and slam my my pointy finger into the trigger finger and shoot a squirrel out of the sky. That's how my life works. I can't get my life together. And they say addicts, like I started using when I was, as a teenager, and I've only been 2 years clean in August. So they say your maturity level stops when your addiction starts. And so, and I can feel that, because most things that you as an adult have dealt with as an adult, I was snorting it up my nose and forgetting that. That wasn't what I was about. So I'm still learning how not to be selfish, for that matter. So Nebraska, let's watch them. Let's hope this works out finally. Now, cannabis moment. If you're a Minnesota resident, smell of cannabis alone does not justify a vehicle search, says Minnesota Supreme Court rules. And you're welcome, because if you didn't know that, now you do, and you heard it here on Canna-Talk ND. The Minnesota Supreme Court has ruled that the odor of cannabis on its own does not establish cause for the coppers, a.k.a. pigs. Maybe that's disrespectful. Sorry, police. To search a car. The ruling came in the case of a 2021 traffic stop in Meeker County, where Adam T. was pulled over by Litchfield police for having too many auxiliary lights on his vehicle's grill. How many's too many? I don't know. He smelled cannabis coming out of the open vehicle window. Torgerson, who was driving with his wife and a child, denied that there was cannabis in the car. Second officer approached. He too smelled the cannabis. The officers ordered everyone out. They searched it. They found a small amount of meth, which ain't great, and some paraphernalia, which is no longer illegal. Remember, paraphernalia is not illegal. Torgerson was not driving erratically, nor was there any evidence of a crime in open view. They based their probable cause findings solely on the cannabis odor. District Court ruled that the evidence obtained from the search was inadmissible. Even in 2021, there were certain circumstances in which possession of cannabis was legal. Medical cannabis and industrial hemp, which looks and smells a lot like regular cannabis. And in Tennessee, it has some stuff in it that works. I don't know what they're up to over there, but it certainly made my plane ride a little more pleasant. The possession of small quantities of cannabis has also been decriminalized by that point, still prohibited by statute, not in itself a crime. So the state of Minnesota appealed this decision to the appeals court, and they say get lost, brah. Subsequently brought before the Supreme Court, which today affirmed the lower court's decision. Writing for the majority, Justice Ann McKeague noted that court previously ruled that the smell of booze alone wasn't sufficient cause for a vehicle search. And because cannabis was also illegal in some circumstances, odor of cannabis should be considered along with the totality of any other circumstances. Outgoing Chief Justice dissented, writing that because cannabis is contraband in Minnesota, the smell of cannabis coming from inside a car would lead a reasonable and prudent person to conclude that there likely will be cannabis in the car. The ruling brings cannabis or Minnesota law in line with Colorado, where 2016 cannabis odor alone has not been able to establish probable cause, and we've seen that in a lot of states. Notably, however, the Minnesota ruling does not make any reference to changing circumstances following the statewide legalization of low-dose THC edibles. Regardless, the ruling is a victory for civil libertarians and racial justice advocates who have long argued cannabis odor has been frequently used to conduct unconstitutional searches in violation of the 4th A. And I agree with that, and I'm sure it's happening. So, let's stay in that vein for a second. Cannabis moment. California Assembly approves Senate-passed bill to stop employers from asking about past cannabis use. It's approved a Senate-passed bill. About 2 weeks after the Assembly Committee cleared the legislation, the full chamber advanced it in a 59-8 vote on Wednesday. When employers ask applicants about past cannabis use, it not only dissuades candidates from applying, but also leads to situations when individuals respond dishonestly. Okay? You force them to lie. But then it's like, well, lying ain't good. It's one of the 10 commandments. I suppose we probably would have got to this end result a little quicker if everybody was telling the truth. You know what I mean? Okay, with certain exceptions, it would build on existing employment protections enacted last session that bar employees from penalizing most workers for using cannabis. It isn't unlawful for an employer to request information from an applicant for employment relating to applicants' prior use of cannabis. Current laws enacted last year says it is unlawful for employers to discriminate against a person in hiring, termination, or any term of conditions, or otherwise penalizing a person if the discrimination is based upon off-duty cannabis use or drug test that reveals cannabinoid metabolites. There are exceptions to the policy, like building and construction trades, and those that require federal background checks and security clearance. So there you go. Now, for all you peep lovers in the house, holler if you can hear me. Only one peep. All right, well, this is a fun article, I guess. High times. Bill to ban chemicals and peeps. Advances in California exposing food industry's dirty little secrets. California Assembly Bill 418, two away from the big one, am I right, would ban 4 chemicals found in candy and other foods. The original recipe for bright pink peeps is at the center of a controversy involving potentially problematic chemicals found in many foods. While it's generally understood that junk food contains poor ingredients, now we know more about which ones are particularly problematic, more specifically, potentially carcinogenic. A bill to ban 4 food-related chemicals include red dyes advanced in California State Senate. While many candies across the board need to change their recipes to something healthier, pink-colored peeps are among the ones that need it most. Bright pink color of peeps is achieved through the dyes include erythrocene, dyes like titanium dioxide, also found in peeps, have been linked to cancer. Now, to be fair, Skittles, Starburst, Ring Pops, and the Hot Tamales also use titanium dioxide to achieve bright colors in candies. See, we're all wrapped up about how cannabis medical products can look like candy to appeal to kids. And I would argue that, there is some concern, over consumption. But to be dangling that as the sole reason when you've got erythrocene and titanium dioxide in actual candy that you're going to give a kid. Peeps were introduced in 1953 as yellow marshmallow chicks designed for children, and the other bright colors with those ingredients followed decades later. It is unacceptable that the U.S. is so far behind the rest of the world when it comes to food safety, and that's true. Gabriel listed potassium bromate, brominated vegetable oil, and propylparaben, which is some sort of weird wax alcohol, which has also been banned in the EU, also as ingredients that need to go. An earlier draft of the bill would have banned titanium dioxide. Some of these ingredients can be found in practically any processed food, including bread, Jell-O, and so on. One case study published in New England Journal of Medicine involved a man who had growths on his fingers. You want to know why? He consumed brominated vegetable oil in ruby red squirt. Yes, I said it. However, he drank 8 liters per day. What? We're talking 4 big fatty bottles? This guy deserves growths on his neck. Gabriel said last summer that alternative ingredients are readily available, though expensive, which is the problem here. Because everybody's markup happy. Everybody's capital is beasts in the U.S. All right. So, endorsing the AB 418, our bill to ban 5 dangerous chemicals already banned in Europe. So, if candy makers won't do the right thing, lawmakers must. So, there you have it. Researchers have known the pigments to be carcinogenic for at least 30 years. In 1990, FDA banned the use of red dye number 3 in cosmetic products like lipsticks, powders, blushes, and skincare. Good, because I use all those all the time. If something isn't safe for your skin, it might be not good to eat either. Whoa, that's genius. Well, anyway, Mars, they had a lawsuit filed for knowingly allowing a known toxin to be used in candy products. So, it's kind of neat to see that happening. But don't forget aspartame, y'all. Other ingredients have been flagged as carcinogenic. Aspartame is used in Diet Coke and is also used to sweeten Mars Extra chewing gum. Last summer, the WHO cancer research said aspartame is a possible carcinogen. So, there you go. There you go. So, that's just a little information for you. Let's keep cooking here. Now, I don't even know if I mentioned this pre-story, but this is the story now about a Bronx woman, Shanetto Rivers, which I think I talked about it. Where this woman, they tried to take her baby over cannabis use. Well, she was awarded $75,000 after city tried to take her baby away. And we're going to talk about it. So, she was awarded $75,000 from the New York City Administration for Children's Services for a lawsuit she filed after the agency attempted to put her newborn son in foster care because she had smoked cannabis legally. So, a woman in the Bronx was awarded the money after the agency attempted to put her newborn son in foster care because the woman smoked cannabis legally hours before giving birth. New York Times reports that she sued the city in May, and a federal judge last week signed off on the settlement. Rivers, who's black, had claimed the ACS had targeted her because of her race. The agency has long faced criticism for its treatment of black families and its harsh policies against parents who consume the cannabis. In August 2021, 5 months after NY lawmakers passed adult use cannabis reforms, Rivers smoked cannabis at a family cookout and started having contractions a short time later and went into the hospital to give birth. According to her lawyers, Rivers was asked while giving birth whether she had consumed drugs or alcohol. She admitted to have smoking cannabis. Drug test was subsequently performed on Rivers and charged to her too, I'm sure, and the newborn, which came back positive for cannabis. And 2 days later, ACS said it was opening a neglect case and moved to place the child in foster care. Under ACS policy, cannabis in a baby's system is not enough for removal unless the child is found to be impaired. Now, that's interesting that they tested the baby. Now, I would argue that she's probably smoking it more than that cookout, right? But that's interesting. That's interesting. Niji Jain, Rivers' lead attorney, told the Times that the settlement shows actions speak louder than words. You don't pay somebody $75,000 before any discovery is exchanged at all in the case based on allegations alone unless there is some there. In a statement, the city's law department said it had carefully reviewed the case and determined that the settlement was in the best interest of all parties. So, shout out to Chantel. Now, High Times. If you're a New Jersey listener, listen up. Attorneys offer free expungement services at New Jersey event. 3 attorneys will offer services for New Jersey residents with cannabis convictions at an upcoming expo. A trio of dedicated attorneys, A. Cooper, Michael Hoffman, and John Williams, are donating their time to help people expunge their records at an upcoming cannabis convention. People currently sit in prison for cannabis convictions. However, certain low-level cannabis convictions in New Jersey are eligible for expungement. So, the 420 Expo calls itself a stigma-free celebration of the legal cannabis lifestyle. People with cannabis convictions often find it possible to get jobs. We all know that. Okay. So, it's in October. So, get your tickets. Now, here's an interesting story. High Times. The Adderall shortage might be getting worse. Now, I'd be bummed if I hadn't abused the snot out of Adderall and I was prescribed it. Because I could get a prescription pretty easy. Except I like snorting it. Is that okay, doctor? Of course it's not okay. I kind of like snorting. I like smashing the extended release BBs. Is that cool, sir? No, it's not, and we're going to have to arrest you. So, I don't know how to do anything right. You know, I live my life the hard way. That's how I do it. So now I take cold showers and I do push-ups and I let the neighbors slap me for $5 a week. Because I can't be trusted around Adderall. You know, I mean, I'd like to think I could. That's why now I put my faith in God and He's helping me. Because Adderall ran me into the mud. But let's talk about this. The biggest manufacturer of Adderall will not be increasing production to address national shortages. He said they're operating at full capacity and blamed their decreased output in COVID-induced work shortages. They love doing that, which they barely recovered from. Now, if they wanted to increase the Adderall they produce, they'd have to build more factories. And the company has declined to comment on whether or not they plan to do that. The pharmaceutical giant, valued at just $11 billion, manufactured about 565 million tablets in 2021. But that wasn't enough. So apparently there's a shortage on everything because without Adderall, they were going to Ritalin and whatnot. So, and it's kind of funny because the FDA marked by an FDA notice acknowledging the shortages with an estimate that things would be resolved in a month or two. That is not the case. So, we, the DEA, which is the weirdest grouping, and the FDA, have called on manufacturers to confirm that they are working to increase production to meet their allotted quota amount. So it's almost, this would allow DEA to redistribute that allotment to manufacturers that would increase production. So it seems like DEA is pushing to get more Adderall in the system, which is crazy. So this is High Times 2. Federal judge in Arkansas blocks hemp cannabinoids ban in pivotal ruling. So, the 2018 Farm Bill was great, really, because it was kind of a big na boo boo to the government, because I don't know what they thought they were doing. So here we go. The implications of a recent federal judge ruling have people in the industry asking, did a federal judge just legalize hemp-derived cannabinoids like Delta-8, THC, HHC, THCP, and THCA flower? In a nutshell, a judge in Arkansas ruled that the 2018 Farm Bill takes legal precedence over an Arkansas state ban on hemp-derived cannabinoids, which could lay out a blueprint for future legal actions in other states. So, it bans sales and production of items containing 8, 9, and Delta-10. The judge found the hemp product ban to be conflicting and arbitrary. So, 4 plaintiffs in Arkansas sue. The company spoke from several points of the hemp industry chain. And plaintiffs have been and will be harmed by Act 629 as they are unable to transport in and through Arkansas hemp-derived cannabinoid products that have been declared legal. So they argue that the Act 629 is superseded by the 2018 Farm Bill, and also that the provisions are unconstitutionally vague and therefore void. The court agreed and entered an injunction that blocks the enforcement of the act. So some places are allowing that to happen. Now, we're talking about the rescheduling. This is from MJ Biz Daily. Once a cannabis enemy, DEA now key to rescheduling. The most significant shift in the U.S. policy is drawing closer, but one major obstacle remains in reform's way, the DEA. So let's see. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services on August 29th responded to Joe Biden's October 22 call for a federal review of marijuana scheduling with a revolutionary pronouncement. The drug should be reclassified as Schedule 3, which I looked, and other stuff on Schedule 3 is like Tylenol with codeine, mellow stuff. So I think cannabis will fit right in there for now. Now, the federal government first official acknowledgement that cannabis has medicinal value goes to the DEA, which is the arm of the Justice Department that's most closely associated with the country's war on drugs. So the DEA administrator and attorneys will consider relevant questions of law. But here's the thing. What the DEA cannot do is reject the health services recommendation outright. This means cannabis days as a Schedule 1 drug are ending. It's only a matter of when. They have to defer to HHS on this. To have that be countermanded by non-public health people would be a mess. They will have the legal and policy questions, and they are not as factually complicated. So, they didn't know what the HHC was going to conclude, but they knew it was coming. They don't think it'll be terribly long because they knew they were going to get to this. So such a proposal could come as early as the end of the year, though there's no guarantee or even a clear timeline. When and if the DEA suggests that change, there will be more hurdles. A public comment period will be open a couple months. The DEA will then be obligated to review those comments and respond before the rule change. Almost inevitably, there will be lawsuits that could delay implementation. So there you go. So it looks like we could end up as Schedule 3. So that's good news, I think. Forced cannabis treatment referrals from law enforcement declined more rapidly after legalization. Rates of criminal legal referrals to treatment for cannabis use among young adults declined significantly more rapidly following legalization. However, among those adolescents, 12 to 17, the researchers found that the trajectory of decline in the proportion of criminal justice did not change significantly follow rec legalization. So, I don't know what that means. Most people arrested for cannabis violations do not require mandatory drug treatment. Fewer people entering the system over the illegality of cannabis means more resources can be directed to those with more urgent need for treatment. Hear, hear. Now, we're going to talk about Missouri. You've been listening to Canna-Talk ND with Wilson on KRWF 95.9, RadioFreeFargo.org, streaming wherever you want to get to us. You can anytime. We're a 24-hour radio station, FYI. Missouri combined cannabis sales surpass, are you ready, 1 billion. All right. The launch of adult use sales on February 3rd through the end of May have totaled 256.2 million, while medical cannabis have totaled another 94 million. Now, according to the Missouri Cannabis Trade Association, there are now more than 14,000 direct cannabis industry jobs in Missouri. The trade group also notes that more than 31,000 cannabis-related criminal records have been automatically expunged. So, the state's auditor office also announced last month that it planned to investigate the state's adult use programs to make sure they are operating illegally. Well, good. Good. Now, here is your assignment. High Times. Colombia breaks coca cultivation record. UN report finds. So, let me just tell you kind of what's up with this. So, Colombia broke a new record for cultivating the coca leaf, the plant used to make cocaine. Now, I didn't know this, so now you do. The process involves extracting alkaloids from the leaves using solvents like gas. The crude extract turns into a coca base by mixing it with alkaline solutions. Then, with a bit of further refinement, thanks to chemicals like hydrochloric acid, the result is crystalline cocaine hydrochloride. The final product is dried, diluted, packaged, and ready for distribution, and likely stepped on multiple times. One can only hope not with fentanyl. Before hitting the illicit market, Colombia is the world's top coca cultivator, producing 60% of the world's cocaine, followed by Peru and Bolivia. Now, like I said, my parents live in Ecuador, and it's gotten exponentially dangerous because Peru's on one border and Colombia is on the other border. And so you got these port cities. It's crazy. Colombia's potential cocaine output skyrocketed by 24% to about 1,700 tons, the highest number reported since the UN began monitoring the situation in 2001. Well, y'all, we've got to the end of another rabble-rousing version of Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I'm certainly happy to provide that service to you. Programming on KRFFLP FM Radio Free Fargo 95.9 FM is being underwritten by Flatland Guitar and Luthery. Flatland Guitars, your full-service guitar shop and your exclusive dealer for Yamaha, Taylor, Paul Reed Smith guitars, and other brands. They sell guitars on consignment. They take trade-ins and have a full-service on-site repair center. Check out Flatland Guitar and Luthery on Facebook or visit them in person at 1450 25th Street South in Fargo. Their hours are Monday through Friday, 10 to 6, Saturdays 10 to 5, and closed on the Lord's Day. Wee. I got a brand new tune from Luther Dickinson. It's off the album called Magic Music for Family Folk. And it's kind of a cool ditty, so we're going to play it for you and to you. And then I'll come back and wrap up this shindig and get out of here. This is Are You Sure? Luther Dickinson. Are You Sure? Luther Dickinson. That was a great song. He's a steel guitar like genius. You're listening to Canna-Talk ND with Wilson for the next few minutes. I'll be out the door. You got Stinky Arts Music Mart on deck. And boy, it's stinky in here. So I feel like the stinkier it is before he does it, the better the show is. So you guys are in for a treat. At the end of the day, Artemis Shrine wraps up your Thursday. Don't forget the other days of the week. We got stuff going on here. 95.9 RadioFreeFargo.org. We're streaming wherever. This show is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy. Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook. 1,600 mgs of CBD, colloidal silver, comfrey, a bunch of goodness to put on your body. Thank you, Black Cottage Alchemy, for sponsoring this show. I believe God created cannabis for us to use as we see fit. And I show him props every Sunday, 10 a.m. We do a recovery class. I'm in it. And then 11 a.m. worship. Come on through. You want to. I think you need to. You do you, bruh. I'll be back in next Thursday again, right after me, Stinky Arts Music Mart. Educate yourselves on the benefits of cannabis so you can educate others on said benefits. It's been real fun talking to you all. And that's right, I say you all because I'm from Tennessee now. And Dolly Parton's my soon-to-be wife. She don't know it yet because I couldn't find her because she was probably just busy pulling a lot of money out of her bank accounts to give to me. You know what I mean? And so I'll let it slide this time. So again, get ready for Stinky Arts Music Mart. I'm going to jump out of here. I got stuff to do. You know, I'm a busy man, playa. But anyway, I'm out of here. You guys be good to yourselves. I love each and every one of you. I'll be back Thursday. Till then, it's David Allen, Judgment Day. Oh, peace.